In traffic, a critical situation can happen suddenly. Then it's important to react quickly. In such situations, active safety systems ensure that the vehicle does what the driver wants. To understand how the system works, here's a quick overview shown using the passenger car. The ESP corrects critical driving conditions by brake interventions to one or more wheels. With oversteer, the rear of the vehicle is liable to fishtail. A targeted brake intervention here on the outside curved front wheel brings the car back into the chosen lane. With understeer, the vehicle pushes to the outside edge of the curve. The course of the vehicle is corrected by a targeted brake intervention at the internal curved rear wheel. Sudden evasion. The red car with ESP is under control. Without ESP, it is not. In vans, this can be especially tricky because due to their higher center of gravity, they are particularly liable to tilt. So that with extreme driving maneuvers vans do not tilt, Mercedes-Benz has modified the well-known passenger car ESP into the van-specific auxiliary functions: load adaptive control, for short LAC, the rollover mitigation, abbreviated ROM, and the roll movement intervention, RMI. To show you how a van reacts without adaptive ESP when carrying out dynamic driving maneuvers, we prepared a Sprinter and went to the test track. We turned off all the ESP auxiliary functions, LAC, ROM and RMI. That means we reduced the adaptive ESP to the basic functions of the ESP as found in a passenger car. To simulate a high center of gravity, we packed 500 kilograms of weight under the roof. This corresponds to a realistic situation because in everyday use, vehicles are often fully loaded. And this can be dangerous because the center of gravity shifts upwards and the vehicle is liable to tilt when carrying out extreme maneuvers. For the safety of our driver, we attached support to the sides of the Sprinter. Now to the test track. First, we demonstrate how the Sprinter reacts when it takes narrow curves or when the turning radius of the curve is further reduced. This situation occurs at motorway exits, which are taken at high speed. The prepared Sprinter without adaptive ESP auxiliary functions swings from side to side, and lateral acceleration continuously increases. The Sprinter tilts on the supports. Now we activate the adaptive ESP with the auxiliary functions, load adaptive control and rollover mitigation. And we do the same driving maneuver. Here the LAC function calculates the vehicle load. Furthermore, the ROM function constantly supervises, along with the existing ESP sensors, the incline tendency of the vehicle. If the vehicle threatens to tilt, the ROM function makes a targeted braking of the necessary wheels. The engine performance is reduced and therefore lateral acceleration decreased. The Sprinter drives away again very dynamically, however this time without tilting and holds the lane. Next we show you how the Sprinter without the ESP auxiliary functions, LAC and RMI, reacts in the case of evasive maneuvers. The Sprinter brakes out and tilts on the supports. This extreme driving maneuver is known as the Moose test and shows how important the adaptive ESP functions are. To compare, the same driving maneuver left with normal ESP and on the right with adaptive ESP, including the auxiliary functions, load adaptive control, rollover mitigation and roll movement intervention. The auxiliary functions ROM and RMI increase the effectiveness of the adaptive ESP, independent of the load, by intervening purposefully in the appropriate wheels and reducing the engine revs. With the special adaptive ESP functions, many accidents may be avoided and the driver gets to his destination more reliably. And now we'll show you the true Moose test. because like the moose, the new ESP for vans is adaptive.